talking about.
I'm going to go ahead and start the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
3 minutes.
Looks like we have Tim on the line.
2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm on the line.
Yep. Hi, Tim.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hello there.
Oh,
And caller one, is that Roger maybe?
That might be. That's me, Mike.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think.
Yep.
Yes. It is.
That's you.
I know the people from O'Reilly's that they're going to call.
Yeah, I think we have Craig on the conference. Craig, are you with O'Reilly's representing?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you well. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm actually, I don't know why it says Craig Schneider. That's the name of our firm.
Oh,
But I'm Tim with Espley Schneider. Josh was going to be here. That's who has been working with the city, but was sick today. So.
okay. All right. Sorry about the confusion. My fault.
Yeah. I'll stay on mute until you guys need me.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Is this Roger?
Yes.
Welcome. Can you hear us well?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Nope.
Okay.
Are you ready, Mike?
Ready when you are. Yes.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 28th Planning and Zoning. Roll call.
Garrett,
Here.
Templin,
Here.
Lane,
here.
McPherson,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
and Commissioner Manson is absent this evening, Chairman.
Okay. Okay, item number 3, general business, approve the planning commission agenda.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Approve minutes of the planning commission meeting held on June 23rd, 2020.
Make a motion we approve the minutes.
Have a motion?
Motion. For second. Sorry,
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Anybody disapprove? Disclosure of conflict of interest.
None.
None. None.
Disclosure of outside communication. What was that?
Templin, none.
Okay. Disclosure of outside communications regarding commission business.
Got none.
None.
Templin, none.
All right. Item number 4, call to public. Members of the public who wish to address the planning commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Any presentation is for information purposes only. No action will be taken. There's a 4-minute time limit. Do we have anybody that wants to make any comments from the public?
No one contacted me.
Okay.
Commissioner Fisher would like to make a comment.
Okay.
I want to ask about the food trucks here in DeSoto. Why are we allowing that, and what does the city benefit from it besides hurting all the businesses that are already striving, hurting right now with the coronavirus especially JT's is hurting, and then we have Chick-fil-A set up right between the bank and JT's. And I just want to know what we can do about that. Is it okay for the food vendors to come in town and set it up? Do we get tax money out of it, or do we absolutely get nothing out of it?
Mike, can you address that?
Well, yeah, secondhand. We do have vendor licenses, and that sort of temporary food sales is allowed in certain zoning districts on private property, and so the Chick-fil-A does have a license to be there on that property. They've got permission from the bank to operate there. We do get sales tax from whatever they sell on the site there. So, yeah, they don't just come in. There is a process, an approval process for that happens.
Okay, I was just making sure. I mean, because like I said, some of the businesses are really struggling right now, and I just wanted to see what we can do about it. But
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A seems pretty popular too when they're
we
here.
can't really do anything about it.
Not a whole lot, really. I know they're popular when they show up. People want to know when they're coming.
Okay,
Is there-
that's it.
Is there anybody else? Okay, number 5, public hearing. Hold a public hearing on special use permit for the auto dealership in the C1 zoning district. Brad?
All right, thank you, Chairman. What you have before you tonight is a special use permit for an auto dealership in the C1 zoning district. We're all pretty familiar with this process. We started this probably 4 or 5 months ago and established the parameter. I guess the first step was, did we even want to have this option in the C1 district? Spent a little bit of time discussing that. Once Planning Commission agreed that it was a acceptable use under certain conditions, then we moved forward with a text amendment to change the code to allow it, and then we also at the same time came up with a process to approve certain specifics that would keep the auto dealership from being sort of a nuisance or something that turned into something we didn't want in the C1 zoning district. And so, and of course the applicant was involved and indicated several items that they wanted to have in there, and really they want to sell primarily antique cars. They will have some opportunity to sell some late model cars, but they're also going to have memorabilia, signs, and sort of older nostalgic kind of items in the shop itself. With that, an application was submitted pretty much on the heels of the approval of the special use permit process by Planning Commission and the City Council. And so here we are today. Did all the appropriate things. We sent out the letters, signs been posted. I did get a call from the pastor down the street at the Reach Church, just more or less curious about what was going on, and I explained the process, and he was fine with it. He was just kind of curious how things happened, and he was very pleased with the building department as far as getting inspections done in a timely manner. So I think he kind of combined his calls and wanting to say that he was glad that we were so, I guess, responsive to the inspection process that was necessary. So I'm going to go through the review of the zoning requirements. When you read the definition for the central business district, and the intent is to accommodate a broad range of retail shopping activities, office uses, and complementary residential uses that are normally found in core areas of the city. This district, or this proposed auto dealership, I think really fits well within that definition. And so when we went through the process for a special use permit, we go through our typical zoning matters that we evaluate for everything in the Soto, especially when there's a special use permit or a rezoning. One thing that was important to Dean, who's the owner of the property, is the fact that the auto dealership or this location has been involved in automobile sales. Since he's owned the property as auto restoration for many years, and he wants to see that use continue. So as far as the neighborhood, really don't see any potential changes as far as the use that's been there. I don't know exactly how long Dean's owned it, and I know it was the Ford dealership before he owned it. So my guess was 50 years, but it could have certainly been longer than that. Compatibility with the proposed zoning and uses nearby. Said there's KJ's Pizza Place, Green Supply are on either side of this. Bank across the street, there's financial services, the Mercado antique dealership, and then the church, or Mercado deals in antiques. So there's actually a pretty good variety of retail uses in the downtown district. Getting back to the intent of the central district, those all fit well within there. And the parameters that we put together for the special use permit, I feel like the compatibility of the proposed item fits very well in this area. The extent to which there's a need in the community for the proposed use, certainly that there isn't any specific need for an antique auto dealership. However, it will generate some additional activity. It'll promote the Soto. It's another destination type place that could draw some people in from greater distances who would not normally come to DeSoto. So we felt that that was a positive in granting the SUP request. The availability of required services. There are utilities in the area. I believe the water and the sewer lines are in the alley to the back. The electric is on poles in the back of in the alley as well. Interestingly enough, there's not water and sanitary sewer has not been provided. I did double check with Nancy and made sure that there's not a billing account for this address. And I think Commissioner Fisher had said at a previous meeting that there wasn't any water that went into the buildings. So the mains are there, so it's just a matter of extending those service lines into the building. There's going to be no anticipated impacts to utilities on this site. Adequacy of the ingress and egress. There will remain the garage door opening off of 83rd Street, and there's also access from the alley to the lower level in the back. There's been no additional access points or anything along those lines. As we pointed out in the SUP process, no parking will be allowed on 83rd Street or in the alley behind the location. So that was a positive in favor of granting the request. The extent to which the proposed use would adversely affect or capacity or safety of the road network and influence by the proposed use, present parking problems, surrounding road network, and support the intended use of the facility. There won't be any vehicles parked there. So we found that positive. Yes, there will be customers that come and go. They will park on 83rd Street most likely, but that's the purpose of the downtown district. Sales and adequate parking downtown. I don't see any reason that there'll be any environmental impacts to the area as far as stormwater, water pollution. I mean, the site's pretty well built out, so there will be no increase in runoff or anything like that. Economic impact of the proposed use, in some ways it's kind of unknown. We don't know how successful this business may be, but it'll certainly provide something that isn't there now. I mean, automobile sales do generate a lot of sales tax revenue. Now, granted, this is not going to be a high volume dealership, but nonetheless, it will certainly have a positive impact on the city. If there's any detrimental effect on nearby properties, I think we covered a lot of those things. I think that was sort of our emphasis when we were going the special use permit process, setting up those categories or items that we want to make sure are met. And the applicant has met those items in their application. I think they're also very easily found out if they are having problems with conditions and dealers are complaining. very easily track those things down. Not meeting conditions in the special use permit, I think it'll be easy to find those out and correct those items at some point. For special use. Consistency with comprehensive plan. This location certainly is people with a comprehensive plan, future land use plans. In compliance. And then I did attach the appendix C, the zoning regulations for the special use permit itself. There's also the interior. We talked about site plan in the text amendment, but it's actually sort of an interior site plan since there's nothing on the exterior to do. One thing that's important is that signage will remain, the floor sign will remain, in addition to the storefront as far as interior things that you can see through the front glass windows. Overall, the technical review of the items have been met. This I will conclude my comments and take any questions that the planning commission may have. We are recommending a term of 20 years with annual 1-year extensions after the initial 20 years.
Are there any questions for Brad?
He is going to tap into the water and sewer.
Yes, yeah, we're going to have require that as part of the project. They're going to have restrooms. They would certainly want.
You know, I see him on the plan, but yeah.
Anyone else have questions for Brad?
Brad, I have a question. On the parking, I kind of warbled and I couldn't exactly hear what you were saying, but why are we saying no parking on the street?
Well, I guess we're not saying no parking on the street. I mean, customers can certainly park on the street, but no vehicles for sale or anything like that can be on the street. No repairs, no anything along those lines. It's an interior automobile dealership.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
maybe I didn't word that as well as I could have. But there won't be any.
That's what I'm wondering.
There won't be any designated parking stalls specifically for this business. You can't have any on their property. It's just downtown parking. It's first come,
Reword that a
first
little
served.
bit different, because when I read that to me and to somebody else that just picked something up, they may not realize that that means they just can't put their vehicles for sale on the street. But anybody should be able to park on the street, I should think. Am I the only one that's looking at that like that?
No, this is Roger. I think you're right. I probably should say no inventory parking on the street, or no parking of inventory.
Yes, I like that, Roger.
Yeah, I can certainly make that change when we take this to the council, so there's no confusion.
Hey, Brad. That's
Right,
Roger.
Roger.
Anybody else have any questions for Brad?
Yeah, this is Roger. Brad,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So, do you need to make a condition of the special use permit that he does tap into the water and sewer?
You know, I think that might be a good idea. I know that they're going to have restrooms, they're going to have those things in there, but I certainly think it could be a good,
We certainly don't want to give him the idea that he's going to run this thing without a restroom, right?
correct. And I don't think Steve would allow an occupancy permit without a restroom or water.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
Go ahead.
Jack. The site plan document does show a restroom in the building, and that document will be made part of the special use permit.
Well, I feel better that it would be a condition that he tap to the water and sewer in order to have
Sure.
special use.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think that's certainly appropriate, Roger.
Do we have any other questions for Brad? If not, this time we'll open up the public hearing. Do we have anybody out there, or nobody in here with us? At this time, we'll close the public hearing. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we recommend to the city council approval of the special use permit for the auto dealership.
We have
I'll
a
second
motion.
that.
What's that, Linda?
I said I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion?
We're gonna add that stipulation about the water and the sewer to the motion.
I think, Fred,
Yeah, I'd say go ahead and add it. Provided that the water and sewer line are extended into
did you get that, Lana?
The water and sewer connections are,
established into the building. For
established within the building. And also, commissioners, I did follow the language that Brad recommended for the 20-year annual, or
Okay.
20-year permit, and with the 1-year annual extensions after that.
Okay,
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay with your motion?
Yep.
Your second, Linda?
Yes, that's fine.
any further discussion? Roll call?
Templin,
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. Did you get that?
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
McPherson,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion carried, Chairman.
Okay, we have no old business, new business. Consider the site plan for the O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Brad?
All right, thank you, Chairman. This project's been in the works for quite some time. I think it was probably 4 or 5 months ago when we were getting some hints that O'Reilly's might want to locate here in DeSoto, and then certainly a couple months after that, they submitted a site development grading plan. So that certainly solidified that, and then they did ultimately purchase the site. So O'Reilly's does own this property at this time, and then soon thereafter, they have submitted site plan. They also submitted the building plans, which have been reviewed by our building official, and the comments have been sent back to the architect, but no building permits have been issued, obviously, because the site plan needs to be approved by the planning commission before they can issue a building permit. The property is located in the Hike 10 developments just west of the Harps grocery store. It's on 91st Terrace. It's going to be almost nearly a 75 square foot building. Actually, the lot itself is a pretty good size. There'll be a lot of open space between the parking and the streets, so it's going to be a really nice addition in this area. Application materials are shown in Exhibit A. All fees have been paid. I've included in this in your packet the site plan, the grading plan, the landscape plan, and building elevations. Those are typically the things that Planning Commission reviews for approval of the site plan. There's also an access agreement with Harps as the driveway entrance on the south side of the building. This is actually going to be a private connection to Harps private street. So that is in your packet as well. As I mentioned, the site plan proposes a nearly 7,500 square foot building. There are 42 spaces, 2 of which are handicapped. Our code requires 38 spaces, so they've exceeded that amount. Trash dumpster with gates is adequate for trash trucks to operate. Landscape elements will be buffered on all sides. I mean, this it's going to be an island in this area, and the applicant has done a good job with their landscaping plan to buffer all sides, including the rear, which is kind of nice because that's kind of a little bit tighter edge for the rear setback, and it will provide some relief to the people at the Harps grocery store, and then also sort of just staring at the backside of the building very much. Stormwater management, there is one stormwater detention facility that was part of the final plat that was approved maybe about a year ago. The stormwater system will be entirely on site, so it's a private system. We won't have any, or the city won't be required to maintain this. They do tie into the system on Cedarwood Street, as you can see, as it drains around the building and into a couple of inlets, and then ultimately the Cedarwood. So there's made the stormwater detention requirement. There's a 5-foot sidewalk that's provided along Commerce right now, but they'll be adding sidewalks along Cedarwood and 91st Terrace. There will be utility connections, including sanitary sewers, storm sewer, where it connects to the city system, and then also water as well. And what's interesting about this, when they submitted the building set, all those connections are on the building plan. Typically, we like to have them on the site plan as well, but we do have a complete permit package already. We do have that in. As far as the technical review, the architectural standards, because it's a island type building, they did submit the building plans. I mean, elevations of all 4 sides of the building. They can be very typical of O'Reilly stores that you see all around the Kansas City metro area. There's a block. They are painted in the O'Reilly colors, which is a darker green and a little bit of an off, sort of a buff kind of white. Signage. The signage is shown on the elevation sheets. At one time there was a discussion about a pole sign, but that does require a special use permit and a public hearing. At this time we've added a pole sign, a special use permit for a pole sign at this time, so we're just talking about really just the sign that's on the front of the building on the main entrance. As I mentioned, the landscaping is included in the site plan. It does meet our requirements, and all the grass areas and the shrubs and trees will be irrigated as well, which is a good thing. Stormwater management, I did mention that the I-10 site has the detention pond that's towards the end of 91st Terrace, over by Commerce Street, Udamaki, easements and lot lines. There are some right-of-way easements that we will require along Commerce for any kind of utilities that might be in there that we'll have to have access to. And we'll have to dedicate those before we can proceed with that. And then finally, I did want to point out in my recommendation, the applicant has submitted a photometric plan. It was a building set, and it does meet our requirement for light spillage and making sure that the light generally primarily. With that, I think they've done a really good job with their submittals. Building department has reviewed building package, supplied comments to the architect. As you know, the council doesn't. This is the sole purview of the planning commission to approve site plans, so it's potentially approved here. Thoughts are words in your mouth, but it will go to the building official to start the project and moving forward. With that, I will conclude my comments and stand for any questions that you have.
Brad, will that detention pond handle all the water coming off the asphalt?
Well, I guess I'll let
Yeah.
Mike review the stormwater.
Yeah, I
plan,
can
and we
handle that.
anticipated these
So
things.
the detention pond was actually part of the Hike 10 preliminary and final development, final plating process, that subdivision process, and it did take into account all the public streets that are in now, plus commercial uses on each one of the pad sites that generated. So when you compare the assumed pervious area for each one of those pad sites with this site, there's much less pervious area on this than what was assumed in the drainage study. So this the detention pond will more than adequately detain the runoff from this site, plus the rest of the development.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for Brad?
This is Roger.
Go ahead, Roger.
Can you hear me? Okay. So is this, will this site plan, are they building the sidewalks, including the ones that are in the right of way that they're indicated here, or because they're in the right of way, they don't have to build them?
Well, there's already sidewalks in place on Commerce Drive, so they will be required to build.
Okay, so that's already there.
Yes. So they'll be required to build the Cedarwood and the 91st Terrace, and then there won't be a sidewalk along it's the back side of the building, the Harp's private
Well, that
drive.
explains it, because it looked like they weren't building the one on Commerce, so we already have that.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for? Do you know when they plan on starting this project?
Here's I'm not getting any full indication. I guess the applicant can speak to that, but I think they're pretty enthusiastic about getting started. And that's why we did sort of a concurrent process with the site plan and getting Steve and Cameron to review the building set. So they should be ready to hit the ground running as soon as over tonight.
Are there any other questions for staff? Any questions for the applicant?
No, I'm good.
I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the site plan for the O'Reillys.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question, please,
Go ahead.
staff. Under the conditions, number B, you said the photometric plan has been submitted, but do we need to add number B to the motion? Have those been taken care of?
Mike, they have not dedicated any easements along Commerce Drive, but I don't know if the site plan is enough to at least. Unless we compare it back to the map, which might have already taken care of.
So, there are no public improvements included with this site plan package.
Correct.
They're all just private utility connections. So,
That doesn't need to be
item
part
B really doesn't apply.
Okay.
All right, just wanted to make
That I
sure.
think was some confusion about the storm. Initially, the initial submittal didn't have any enclosed storm sewer system on the site, and my comment was to add those storm lines. And so there was confusion about whether that was a public or private storm sewer system. It's a private storm sewer system. I think that's why that was on the staff report.
Yeah.
So item B in the staff report does not apply. No.
Thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I'm ready.
Okay,
I got a question to the owners of O'Reilly's.
We have
So this is-
representatives on the teleconference.
Okay. Hey, this is Tim Fisher. Do you actually think our town's big enough for 2 auto parts stores? I know I'm all about growth, but, when we come into town and we try to put, a guy that's been in business here for 40 plus years, I mean, I kind of have a problem with that, so, but that was all my question is do you think DeSoto's big enough to support 2 auto parts stores?
Sir, am I allowed to speak at this point?
Yeah. The question was toward you.
Okay, I want to make sure. Obviously, there's rules sometimes. Mr. Fisher, I can't answer that question. Because I'm a consultant for O'Reilly's. We're a representative of them on the architectural side, the engineering side. They don't go into towns if they don't feel like it's a place where they should be. But if it's not. I cannot answer that question directly because we deal directly with basically with the architectural and design of the projects. We don't set precedent as to where they decide to build.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
Yep, and I can provide an answer to the board if necessary. It just, I'd have to get him.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
But since I am talking, I do appreciate everyone's time and allowing us to do it this way. And obviously, it's kind of a strange time, so I do appreciate everybody's effort and time to allow us to attend this meeting via Zoom or GoToMeeting and continue to keep this thing moving. So I just appreciate the planning commission's time.
Okay, do we have any other questions for the applicant or for Mike or Brad? We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Templin,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
McPherson,
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion carries.
Okay, item B, discuss potential rezoning application on Sunflower Road south of Lumber One. Brad?
All right, thank you. I've gotten a few calls on this track over the last year and a half, or these two tracks. Some people were actually interested in building a single-family home there, and once they went and saw the area, sort of backed away from it. Because across the street is the former, I think it's the water treatment or some sort of, maybe it's the sewer treatment plant for the ammunition. It's really not exactly an attractive location. I think the pricing kind of gets some people interested about it, but I did get a call recently from an applicant that was considering purchasing the property, would like to rezone it to allow for self-storage. And what they were talking about actually was not enclosed self-storage, but covered self-storage, our boats and RVs, things like that. There's a large one that the chairman in Spring Hill that you mentioned, and I've seen that facility as well. And it is just a open air covered, actually gravel, I think, surface for that area. And so they felt that looking at it, that maybe there's an opportunity to rezone the property, and looked at, and they did done some research on their own and looked at Soto's regs, and we do allow this under C2 commercial with a special use permit process, or under M1, and it's allowed by right. So they're actually obviously leaning towards the M1 light industrial district. Right now, number one is M1, it's light industrial. Clearview City, while it's obviously residential, is actually zone C2. And then when I looked at our land use plan, we actually have it shown as M1, light industrial. So I guess what the applicant or the potential buyer was just wanting to get some feedback from the planning commission on your thoughts on rezoning this property to either of those. Certainly they were more favorable towards the M1 since there's more options for permitted uses than a C2 and a special use permit would block them into that specific use. I would certainly be more, my opinion would be to go towards the C2, because when you're approving the M1 district, you're actually approving all those potential uses that could go in there. Now, once again, we do show it on our future land use plan as one structure just adjacent to it, and there's going to be industrial type uses ultimately out of the so I guess you can make an argument for either direction. Just want to get your thoughts on whether or not this, has an opportunity to move forward, or any kind of thoughts that you might have on having these tracks rezoned commercial.
What kind of options might come in under M1?
Well, I guess I'm trying to think of all the, Hutamaki, all those types of buildings are ones, light industrial. I think all the M1s that we have in town.
Basically any light industrial then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's non-retail stuff really. So I mean, we don't have really anything in town that couldn't happen under light industrial. I don't think we have anything that I would describe as heavy industrial in town, by way of an example. But a good distinction is that there's no retail component to the uses typically that are in industrial. They're manufacturing, production of goods, but not services.
How big are those lots?
They're about 5 acres each.
Yeah. But before we have too much specific discussion about the specific buyer, just want a little bit of caution. Keep your questions along these lines are perfect. Keep them general because this may become a public hearing issue, and we don't want to pre-decide anything on a potential future application. So just a word of caution there. But this line of questioning is fine. Yeah.
Are there any other questions for
This is
Brad or
Roger.
Mike?
Yeah, this is Roger.
Go ahead, Roger.
So, the R2 to the west of this property, are there actually residential tracts there? There are people who built homes in that area?
Let me pull up the map. I know, Roger, you're not in a place where you can see the screen, are you?
No, but I'm just
Okay.
curious as to how much single-family type residential there is around this property.
So there is, to answer your question, then there's a single-family property. Parcel is about 700 feet to the west of the west property line of these tracts, but the home is about 1,500 feet to the west. There's one home along Sunflower Road to the north of Lumber One, pretty close there, and another one further up. But yeah, to the west there, the parcel's about 800 feet away, and the home is actually 1,500 feet.
Yeah, the number one track, the R1 track in Clearview City track, that's the edge of the Soto city limits.
Yeah, those are in the
Okay.
county.
So that residence you just described is in the county?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it would seem to me that in light of the fact there are some residential uses there, plus who knows what the hell happens to Clearview City at some point, but I think a C2 would probably be much more palatable than just giving an M1 on that property, and at least give you the opportunity to have some ability to guide what ultimately goes there. So that's my 2 cents.
Any other questions?
Well, I'll just tell them that feedback and, if they want to say, get more specific, they'll have to turn in an application.
Okay. All right. That's all you need, just an inquiry.
That's correct, that's it.
All right. So we'll close that then. Okay, anybody have any questions for staff?
I got one question.
Okay,
When are they going to close that bridge leading over across the river?
Yeah, that's a popular question. The latest information we have from the county is the contract's been awarded. The contractor, they're expecting to close it late August. The last week or two of August, and the message still is that it could be closed for 2 or 3 months.
Okay. I thought somebody told me 2 weeks, and I'm like, no way. So, okay. I'm good. Thanks, Mike.
Yep. All right. Yep.
I have a question for you, Mike. Do you think we could get the property just east of the carriage houses mowed and cleaned up?
We can certainly issue code violation.
Would you look into that?
I certainly will. Brad, could you
Yeah, I'll talk to Walt.
take that note? That's very familiar ground we'll be treading
Right.
on code violations.
Wasn't that guy supposed to put in like a landscaping place in there or something?
Well, it sort of kind of used to be one.
Well, it was at one time, and then someone
Yeah.
else
I
bought
guess
it.
that's interesting you bring that up, John, because that's why I felt like we rezoned that, and they came in with a site
Yeah.
plan right behind it, and everything
Yeah.
was story, and then so they decided not to do it, and then we got hung out with rezoning something that didn't happen the way we wanted.
I'm surprised they didn't build more carriage houses there.
I think those two people are talking. That'd be good.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
Just kind of curious now the 4th of July is over, where we are with Jake's. Looks like it's abandoned again.
Code violation process has commenced on that. I believe they have a court date.
Yes, they do.
Oh, gosh.
There will be no leniency as far as staff goes on there.
Are they storing fireworks in there during the off year?
I don't have the answer to that. Do you happen to know, Brad? I don't know.
Because I thought part of their permit was there'd be nothing stored in there. It would be set up as a sports area.
That is correct.
Right, but that was under the assumption that they would go ahead with the sports activity, which they're not doing. So I can't tell you if they've moved those fireworks out or not.
Should we check that out?
We certainly can. Yeah, I'll have to get you an answer on that, Bob.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Aye.
Good. Thank you all very much.
You guys.
This conference is no longer being recorded.